On the brink of their greatest adventure, our hunters set their sights on the Dark Continent, a land of mystery and danger. What awaits them beyond the edge of the world? Let's dive into its introduction in HunterXHunter. Beans bursts into the Zodiac's conference room, his voice filled with urgency, just as Chetel is about to deliver an important announcement. The Zodiacs exchange glances, speculating that she might be resigning as chairman. However, Chowdhull swiftly reassures them before turning their attention to Beans, who insists on addressing a pressing matter. He presents a video featuring King Nasubi Hui-Guo-Ru of the Kukin Empire. In the footage, Nasubi makes a bold declaration about carrying the dreams of all humanity on their backs, as he announces that the voyage to the Dark Continent will commence from Kukin Empire. The Zodiacs are visibly taken aback, except for Kanzai, who remains clueless about both the Dark Continent and the Kukin monarch. Gel steps in to clarify. The Dark Continent is an uncharted and perilous land, absent from conventional world maps, where unknown human civilizations and mystical creatures reside. Nizaistim elaborates, explaining that every past attempt to explore it has resulted in catastrophe. Consequently, 200 years ago, the world's 5 leading nations, collectively known as the V5, established a treaty prohibiting further expeditions. Chetel adds that Kukin, having become a recognized nation only 30 years ago, may not have been bound by the original agreement. As the discussion unfolds, Beans interrupts again, this time with an even more shocking revelation. The video continues, showing Nasubi introducing the leader of the expedition to the Dark Continent, Isaac Netero, the former chairman of the Hunter Association. But to everyone's astonishment, Nasubi clarifies that the man they have enlisted is not the late chairman himself, but his son, Beyond Netero. The Zodiacs are stunned, unaware that Netero had any children. Garrel suggests verifying the claim, but before they can deliberate further, Beyond begins his speech. His striking resemblance to Isaac Netero immediately convinces several Zodiacs of his legitimacy. With confidence, Beyond promises to oversee the expedition and ensure equal opportunity for all willing participants. He extends an open invitation to the world, urging them to journey to Kukin Empire and venture into the unknown. The weight of his words leaves the room in palpable tension as the video ends. Beans then discloses a crucial piece of information. Before his passing, Chairman Netero entrusted him with 2 DVDs, instructing that the second be shown to all Zodiac members should anyone claim to be his offspring. However, with Jin and Periston absent, the decision falls to Chetel. Without hesitation, she declares that their presence is unnecessary, as both have resigned from the Zodiacs. Moreover, she reveals that the V5 has already issued them a critical mission, one that leaves no room for hesitation, to hunt down Beyond Netero. Meanwhile, across the world, people rally behind Beyond Netero, captivated by his vision of a new frontier. Undeterred by the V5's prohibitions, he delivers a rousing speech alongside his 10 most trusted followers, Periston among them, expressing his unwavering resolve to explore the Dark Continent without restriction. His ambition is clear, to set foot on a land unseen by humanity, no matter the cost. The director of the International Permit Agency, IPA, accompanied by the newly appointed Deputy Secretary Steiner, both representatives of the V5, walks through a heavily fortified corridor. As they move toward a secure elevator, they discuss the IPA's role in overseeing the upcoming expedition to the Dark Continent. The director cryptically remarks that the gatekeeper of the New World despises ill-mannered visitors. He warns that if negotiations with the Kukin Empire fail, it could lead to the opening of Pandora's box. Confused, Steiner questions whether the statement is meant metaphorically. The elevator doors open, and the director leads Steiner into the depths of the IPA's secret basement, a place steeped in darkness and grim history. The scene before them is horrifying. Countless human corpses, their forms grotesquely twisted, the remnants of past attempts to venture into the Dark Continent. The director solemnly explains that these are not travelers who reach the Dark Continent, but victims found within the known world, having unknowingly brought back its horrors. Handing Steiner an ancient book titled Journey to the New World, the director explains its significance. Once dismissed as mere fiction, the book is now regarded as a legendary record chronicling expeditions from centuries past. He orders Steiner to study every detail and discern the risks of setting foot into the unknown. As they proceed through the eerie basement, a sudden impact against reinforced glass startles Steiner. Behind the barrier stands a grotesque, inhuman figure, the only survivor among those who returned from the Dark Continent. The director explains that this entity was once a hunter, but exposure to a mysterious virus rendered him something beyond human. The creature has existed without sustenance for 50 years, a living testament to the perils of the Dark Continent. Every past expedition has resulted in disaster, with humanity retreating in fear, only to bring calamities back with them. Later, Steiner returns home and begins his assigned reading. However, as he delves into the book's contents, particularly its account of the 5 threats brought back from the Dark Continent, an overwhelming sense of dread grips him. Meanwhile, the Zodiacs gather to watch the second DVD left behind by former chairman Nitaro. In the recording, Nitaro reveals that his son, Beyond Nitaro, had already made an unauthorized voyage to the Dark Continent, returning with unknown threats. As a result, he strictly forbade both Beyond and the Hunter Association from further exploration until after his death. However, Nefantro expresses a personal wish for the Hunter Association to venture into the Dark Continent before Beyond, but stresses that this is a request, not a command. Shuttle accepts the mission but insists that no other hunters outside the Zodiacs should be involved. This sparks a heated debate among the group. Sayu and Kanzai object to the pursuit of Beyond, arguing that it gives the Hunter Association an unfair advantage in the race to the Dark Continent. Others counter that Kaseiken will gain a massive head start unless they act decisively. The discussion shifts to Jin Freaks, the only known hunter with the ambition and capability to reach the Dark Continent. Jal speculates that if Ganging joins their side, the playing field will be leveled. If not, Kujkin will dominate the expedition. As tensions rise, Bean suddenly receives an unexpected call. To the Zodiac's astonishment, the caller is none other than Beyond Netero himself. Without hesitation, he appears before them and, with a confident smirk, instructs them to contact the V5. His message is clear. Tell them you have captured Beyond Netero. Beyond Neftero sits confined in a cell, his expression calm yet unwavering, as Chela Yorkshire interrogates him, while the rest of the Zodiacs observe in silence. Unshaken by his captivity, Beyond confidently predicts that the Zodiacs will ultimately release him and join him on his expedition to the Dark Continent. Cheddle dismisses his claim as pure delusion, asserting that their positions are clear. Beyond is on the offensive, while the Zodiacs remain on the defensive. To maintain transparency and accountability, she declares that their conversation will be recorded. Meanwhile, at the International Permit Agency, IPA, Deputy Secretary Steiner and the V5 representatives analyze records of previous attempts to reach the Dark Continent. The data is staggering. 149 expeditions have been launched, yet only 5 succeeded in landing. Among those, only 28 people survived, one of whom was Beyond Nichero. Even more chilling is the fact that out of those 28, only 3 managed to reintegrate into normal society. The discussion shifts to the mysterious guides, an enigmatic race known as the gatekeepers of the Dark Continent, who control access to the uncharted land. When asked if the 5 threats brought back from past voyages have been well documented, the officials confirm that they have. Steiner then proposes a bold strategy. V5 should absorb Kakin into their ranks, forming a new entity, the V6. Back in the Zodiac's holding facility, Beyond and Chadel continue their tense exchange. Kanzai, struggling to keep up with the conversation's complexity, asks for an explanation. Sako offers a succinct summary. Beyond is proposing to make the King of Kakin a legendary historical figure in exchange for passage to the Dark Continent. Then, in a stunning declaration, Beyond formally announces war against the Zodiacs. Without hesitation, Cheryl accepts his challenge and instructs Mizaistum to contact the V5. The decision is made. The Zodiacs will journey to the Dark Continent alongside Beyond, though under strict conditions. When Kanzai expresses further confusion, Goodleil clarifies the plan. Beyond will be transported to the Dark Continent in captivity. Once there, he will be released, but kept under close surveillance, allowing him to reunite with his allies under controlled circumstances. Sacho volunteers to personally oversee Beyond's movements, and Beyond, unfazed, agrees to the arrangement. Earlier, Steiner had expressed skepticism about Journey to the New World, questioning whether it was merely the work of an over-imaginative writer. The IPA director had only responded with a knowing laugh. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a grand unveiling takes place. The Black Whale, a colossal transport ship designed to carry 200,000 people, is introduced to the public. It is announced that King Nasubi Huiguoru has grand ambitions. In the coming years, he plans to dispatch 1 million ships to the Dark Continent. The media buzzes with speculation, reporting that the maiden voyage will carry not only beyond Nidero, but also King Hui Guo Rao and his 14 princes. Additionally, experts begin discussing a comprehensive bestiary detailing the known creatures of the Dark Continent. At the same time, deep within Beyond's expedition headquarters, Jin Freaks arrives unannounced and confronts Periston Hill. Jin wastes no time cutting to the heart of the matter. If the government refuses to acknowledge Beyond's provocation and send him to the Dark Continent, Periston intends to unleash 5,000 Chimera to force their hand. Jin, however, refuses to let Periston dictate the course of events any longer. Periston, ever composed, assumes that Jin is there to join his cause. But Jin smirks and corrects him. He has no intention of playing by Periston's rules. Instead, he declares he wants to play by himself. Cheadle contacts Leorio via phone, extending an invitation for him to join the Zodiacs. She acknowledges his rising prominence within the organization and emphasizes the impact he has made. When Leorio hesitates, implying he may decline, Cheadle sweetens the offer by revealing that a prestigious medical research opportunity awaits him, one where she herself will serve as the head medical professor. Just as Leorio prepares to refuse, he pauses and inquires if there is room for one more member in the Zodiacs, hinting that he has someone in mind. Meanwhile, within the stronghold of Beyond Netero's Dark Continent expedition team, Periston muses on the upcoming Hunter exam, remarking that Jin is surely aware of the Chimera ants. He speculates that Chandel may attempt to separate the exam from the association, a move he strongly opposes. When Jin questions why Periston seeks to undermine the Hunter Association despite his evident attachment to it, Periston deflects, challenging Jin to prove his claims by explaining his motives. Jin surmises that Periston is driven by a thirst for amusement, with his most efficient path to entertainment being the global dispersal of Chimera ants and the opening of previously restricted routes to the Dark Continent. He predicts that Periston's subordinates will easily pass the Hunter exam and infiltrate the organization, but admits he fails to see the direct link between the Chimera ants and the association. Jin ultimately asserts that he and Periston share a common desire for uncharted paths, though he insults Periston in the process. Periston's usual grin fades as he acknowledges Jin's accuracy. He reflects that while most people find joy in love and companionship, he derives pleasure from being despised and harming what he cherishes. He wonders if this is truly abnormal, to which Jin bluntly responds that Periston is far from ordinary and insists that, in this respect, they are fundamentally different. As Curly attempts to interject, Jin dismisses him, leaving him disheartened. Usamen then rises in anger, threatening Jin, but before he can act, Jin effortlessly lifts him, prompting Usamen to vividly imagine the brutal force of Jin's punches crushing his face. Jin orders him to back down and shifts his focus to a robotic girl in the corner, questioning whether she holds the highest rank among them. Before she can respond, Periston interjects, identifying himself as the team's second in command. Jin, surprised that rankings are not based on strength, releases Usamen. When Periston protests that he is being underestimated, Jin asserts that if they fought, he would ultimately kill Periston, yet Periston would continue to laugh unless his very spirit was broken. Jin boldly declares himself the new number 2 and dares anyone to challenge his claim. Elsewhere, Mizaistam Nana embarks on a mission to locate Kurapika. Linson informs him that Kurapika is currently unavailable, but Mizaistam insists on waiting. Before long, 3 men attempt to block his path. In response, he brandishes a warning card, a likely manifestation of his Nen ability, Cross Game, which restricts their movements and renders them unable to attack. Taking a seat in the corner, he patiently observes as the men remain immobilized. Eventually, the bartender discloses that Kurapika is in the basement, but before Mizaistam can proceed, Kurapika himself emerges. Introducing himself as a representative of the Hunter Association, Mizaistam broaches the topic of the Dark Continent expedition and extends an invitation for Kurapika to join the Zodiacs, an offer made at Leorio's behest. Kurapika immediately declines, stating that he has other priorities. However, Mizaistam suddenly mentions the Scarlet Eyes, triggering Kurapika's anger and prompting him to issue a sharp warning to choose his words carefully. Mizaistam then reveals a shocking piece of information. A powerful individual in the Dark Continent possesses multiple sets of Scarlet Eyes, one that Kurapika has thus far failed to track. Leveraging the vast resources of the Hunters, the association has identified the owner. As Kurapika contemplates the revelation, Mizaistum hands him an image of the person in question, the fourth prince of the Kakin Empire, Tseridnich Hui Guo. Kurapika reflects on how he came to possess the Scarlet Eyes currently in his collection, recalling the struggles and sacrifices involved in retrieving them. Meanwhile, within Beyond Nitero's Dark Continent expedition team, skepticism lingers regarding Jin's sudden rise as second-in-command. Unwilling to accept his authority, two members challenge him to a fight. However, rather than engaging, Jin takes an unconventional approach. He offers them money, pledging to double the salary Beyond pays them. One of the team members, intrigued, provides Jin with his account number. Moments later, after confirming the transfer, the member promptly exits the lair, seemingly satisfied. Jin then turns to Periston, asking if he has any objections. Periston merely smiles, offering no resistance. At the Hunter Association headquarters, Leorio establishes contact with Kurapika, who is traveling by car alongside Mizaihanistum. Concerned, Kurapika inquires about Gon's well-being, to which Leorio reassures him that Gon is doing fine for the time being. Leorio then asks for Kurapika's email address, but Kurapika refuses to share it. Despite this, he expresses gratitude to Mizaiistum for providing information on Prince Tseridnich Huiguoru, though he admits that his abilities may be of little help against such a formidable opponent. Mizaiistum cautions Kurapika about the prince's sinister nature, advising him to tread carefully. Unfazed, Kurapika reassures him that he is no stranger to dealing with monsters disguised as men. Elsewhere, Gon attempts to reactivate his Nen, only to be met with an alarming discovery. His abilities are completely inaccessible. Back in Beyond Nitero's lair, Jin briefs 3 members of the expedition team on the 5 threats of the Dark Continent. He reveals that these entities surpass even the Chimera ants in strength, and humanity has yet to develop any means to counter them. He further discloses that victims of 2 of these threats, Akai and Pap, have already been found, and a possible 6th threat may soon resurface. Jin explains that the Hunter Association previously collaborated with Isaac Nitero on an earlier expedition to the Dark Continent. According to Nitero, the land is vast beyond comprehension, and during his journey, he was accompanied by Lean Horse Duver and Zig Zoldyck. To prevent Beyond Nitero from setting foot there, Isaac and the V5 placed an official ban on the region. The team member who had earlier received money from Jing unexpectedly returns. He reveals that he used the funds to pay for his younger sister's medical treatment at the hospital. Now seeing Jing in a different light, he acknowledges him as the expedition's new second-in-command. Curly, one of the team members, then questions Jin about the source of his extensive knowledge regarding the Dark Continent. Jin explains that only one individual has ever explored and documented the land, an adventurer who authored a book titled Journey to the New World over 300 years ago. He notes that the book was published in 2 versions, East and West, but only the East edition has been found. When Masher and another team member propose 2 possible reasons for the missing West edition, Jin provides a third, one that shifts their perspective entirely. He suggests that the book is still being written to this day. The true author, he reveals, is none other than Don Freaks. Gon calls his father, Jin, informing him that he is unable to manifest any aura. Jin, however, reassures him, explaining that his aura is likely still present. He simply can't perceive it. He goes on to tell Gon that he has essentially returned to normal and should consider himself fortunate, as the consequences of his previous actions could have been far worse. Rather than lamenting the loss, Jin advises Gon to view this as an opportunity to explore and search for something new. Taking his father's advice to heart, Gon returns to Whale Island, where he reunites with Miriyato and assists her with household chores. During dinner, Mito asks if he feels disheartened about not being able to accompany Jin. Gon responds candidly, admitting that even if he had gone, he likely would have only been a burden, something that would have been different if he could still use Nen. He then confesses that finding Jin was never about wanting to meet him as a father, rather it was a goal he set for himself. When Mito agrees that Jin lacks the qualities of a father, Gon acknowledges this but adds that, by the same measure, he himself never had the qualities of a son, an assertion Mito vehemently rejects. Gon laughs, assuring her that he was only joking. As he calms down, he gazes into his glass, revealing that he never wanted to stay with Jin simply because he was his father. Instead, he wanted to be near him because he could feel his strength and awe-inspiring presence firsthand. However, now that he has lost his Nen, that connection is gone. Mito lightheartedly sums up their conversation, reminding him that he's now stuck with her. She then leaves the room momentarily, only to return with 2 towering stacks of paperwork, informing Gon that these are the forms he must complete, causing him to recoil in exaggerated horror. Meanwhile, within Beyond Netero's Dark Continent expedition team, Jin is confronted by a team member who reports that the group has split into 2 factions, those who refuse to take Jin's money and those who are willing to accept it. He warns that such a division will only lead to chaos, and that not a single team member will follow Jin's orders. Instead, he insists that they act as mediators, as they were hired by Beyond, and that their loyalty lies with him, regardless of whether Jin chooses to look down on them for it. Another member, however, admits that even if they were to unite against Jin, they wouldn't stand a chance against him. Jin smirks, stating that they can't deceive him. He knows that every single one of them is a specialist. As Jin elaborates on why he believes Beyond's team members are all specialists, Periston silently reflects on how eerily similar Jin's thought process is to his own. For the first time, Periston experiences a genuine sense of hatred towards someone, prompting him to wonder what he should do about Jin. Elsewhere, in a dimly lit dance club, 2 young women receive an invitation to Prince Seridnich Huiguoru's hotel. Intrigued, they accept. Upon arrival, they marvel at the luxurious surroundings and ask the prince if he lives there alone. With a smile, Seridnich assures them that he never truly feels lonely, then encourages them to tell him about themselves. Later, Seridnich is seen reclining in a lavish bathtub, speaking on the phone with someone named Mark. He complains about the women's superficiality, expressing frustration over their lack of awareness about global affairs and their fixation on fashion. With cold indifference, he instructs Mark to send another pair. As the scene expands, the horrific truth is revealed. The bathroom is drenched in blood, confirming that the 2 women have been brutally murdered. It is evident that they were not his first victims. Back at the Hunter Association headquarters, Chattel receives direct orders from the IPA director to make Beyond sign a contract. The agreement states that if Beyond violates any rule, he will be sentenced to life in prison. Furthermore, if he does break the rules, she is to incite a riot, ensuring that the event is broadcasted worldwide. Chattel presents the contract to Beyond, who calmly reads through its conditions. Without hesitation, he signs it. Then, with a deliberate gesture, he presses the pen forcefully into the paper, causing it to remain lodged in place. Smirking, he cryptically remarks that there are only 3 things left: capacity, means, and contract. Meanwhile, in the car carrying Kurapika and Mizaistom, the conversation turns to the fate of Prince Seridnich Huiguoru after they retrieve the Scarlet Eyes. Mizaistom asks what they plan to do with the prince, to which Kurapika replies that he doesn't care. His only objective is reclaiming the eyes. Pressing further, Mizaistom questions what Kurapika will do if the prince resists. Kurapika, unfazed, recounts 2 past encounters where individuals initially claimed they would rather die than relinquish the Scarlet Eyes. In the end, however, neither of them perished. Both had a change of heart. Confidently, he states that the prince will be no different. Mizaistom, unconvinced, closes the conversation with a single remark: "I hope you're right." The episode ends here. The next part is coming in just 3 days, so make sure to subscribe to Recap Manga for your best dose of manga and manhwa videos. Stay tuned.